Today we're going to be talking all about sleep, and Vanessa Osorio, a sleep coach, will be joining me. Let me introduce her briefly before I bring her on. Vanessa Osorio is a sleep science coach at Sleepopolis, a sort of sleep health destination. One of her main duties at Sleepopolis is creating sleep health content that informs consumers on sleep health and helps them make smart choices surrounding their sleep-related purchases. Vanessa graduated from the University of Texas at Austin in 2018 and studied communications and public relations. Vanessa has valued the importance of sleep after getting certified in sleep science. Hi, Vanessa. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, Dr. Sekandari. Thank you for having me.
It's so great to talk to you. I just briefly shared a little bit about your background and your certification as a sleep science coach, but can you tell me a little bit more about what's a sleep science coach and what role do you play in helping others improve their sleep?
Totally. I got my certification at the beginning of this year in January. And it's kind of, it's nothing, I'm definitely not a medical professional by any means. I don't diagnose people. It's kind of more of an educational and supplemental thing for my current role, which is at Sleepopolis. I do a lot of research and sleep health content. So I kind of did this certification to learn a little bit more about what a sleep doctor would do when they diagnose patients. And it's kind of like I said, supplemental, not really medical by any means.
That's wonderful. But what is exactly the role that you're playing as far as educating and just educating the consumers about sleep, I guess?
Yeah, for sure. With the certification, I kind of learned a lot of ways to improve sleep, like from your day to day. But what I currently do is I'm a content sleep health content specialist at my job. So I spend a lot of time researching sleep trends and sleep health and how it impacts basically any condition that we experience. And I help create a lot of sleep education content, anything from how we sleep to sleep and the lymphatic system, or sleep and Crohn's disease and dental health and sleep. So I try to create a very kind of like useful content that people can use kind of in their day to day, and basically educate people and consumers, so that when they make choices or purchases about sleep health items or things for their life, they do it with with just the most education and make the best decision for themselves, since it's just such a vital part of our well-being, quality sleep.
So since you've learned and have done so much research on sleep, that's what really attracted me to your bio and your work, is that I wanted to learn more about the work that you're learning and researching as far as sleep goes. So what have you learned? Like you said, dental health, Crohn's disease, lymphatic system, all of that. What role does sleep play in our physical and mental well-being?
So sleep and mental health are very, very intertwined, very closely related. It was believed that sleep disorders and difficulty sleeping were a symptom of mental health disorders, but really it's more of like bad sleep or sleep problems can cause mental health problems. So rather than being a symptom, it can definitely increase the likelihood of someone developing a mental health disorder. So for example, people who experience depression, 75% of those people have sleep difficulties. And one of the main causes of chronic insomnia is anxiety disorders. So it is very, very important to really pay attention to the type of sleep that we get, the quality, and make sure that it's restorative, because it's not a cure for mental health disorders by any means, but sleep hygiene can definitely help improve insomnia and a lot of sleep difficulties that don't require more serious medical attention.
So what have you learned about how can we improve our sleep hygiene? Because it does play such an important role. And when we're not getting enough sleep, we're not allowing our body to rest and repair, right? So
Yeah. Well, I want to kind of define sleep hygiene because before this, I didn't really understand what sleep hygiene meant. I thought like, okay, do I need to wash my sheets, clean my room? And so sleep hygiene kind of just refers to like the behaviors and the routine surrounding your bedtime kind of like um, environment and routine. So sleep hygiene can range from anything to having the same awake and sleep time every day, avoiding blue light before bed, and so all of these behaviors. And we actually just created a 30-day sleep plan at Sleepopolis with the help of two sleep experts that kind of outlines what you can do. They're easy things to do. They're not medical by any means. They shouldn't take place of like a medical diagnosis. But we created this 30-day plan, kind of builds off each day with tips that improve to improve your sleep hygiene. So a few of them. The first day starts with, commit and set your intentions for this plan because I think sleep health is really, I see it as a lifestyle almost. And so to really improve your sleep quality and prioritize it, you really do have to commit to kind of the process of putting it at the top of your priority list in like health wise. And so a few things that I definitely always recommend are during this time specifically where a lot of people are working from home and anxiety levels, stress levels are just so high because we're kind of living the 1 year anniversary of COVID and things like that. One simple thing to do is keep your office space outside of your bedroom if at all possible, because sleep environment is extremely important to your quality of sleep over time. And the bedroom should be reserved for sleep and sex only. So that way, when you are getting ready for bed and your body does start to slow down and your brain begins to produce our sleep hormone, which is melatonin, you're when you enter that bedroom, you want to keep everything from the day, all of the stressors, all of the things that are like going crazy in your mind. Want to leave them outside the room so that when you enter your room, you unwind, you relax, you disconnect, and your body knows that it's time to get ready for bed. So I can give you a few more tips like regarding sleep hygiene if that'd be helpful.
Oh, yes, please share.
One thing that I've definitely noticed helps me is avoiding blue light at least 1 hour before bedtime. Research and other experts recommend like maybe 3 hours before bedtime, but let's be real, who can do that these days, in this interconnected world? So at least 1 hour before bedtime, avoid blue light. What that means is our bodies operate in a 24-hour cycle. It's called our circadian rhythm, and that basically is our internal biological clock that uses daylight and darkness and melatonin to kind of regulate our sleep cycle. So, like blue light, we get a lot of blue light from the sun. And before we had artificial lighting, our body kind of just rose with the sun and like went to sleep after it sunset. And our circadian rhythm was controlled that way. But if we are looking at blue light all day long, our body thinks it's daylight, so it's daytime, and so melatonin will like the production of melatonin, which is our sleep hormone, like I said, will be delayed and delayed. So the hormone is produced 30 minutes before bedtime. That's why a lot of the supplements say take 30 minutes before going to sleep. And so avoiding blue light before bed definitely helps kind of turn off your brain. It's not daylight anymore. It's time to unwind. Let's get sleeping. So that's a really important one. It's also very good it's important to look at where you sleep, the mattress that you use, the pillow that you use, the bed sheets that you use. Do you run hot? Might want to invest in cooling sheets. You really do want to invest in a mattress that supports spinal alignment. It is the most important thing. Sleep posture is important. If you're a side sleeper, you might want to try placing a pillow in between your knees to, keep that spine aligned. If you're a back sleeper, it'd be helpful maybe to put a pillow under your knees. If you're a stomach sleeper, they recommend putting a pillow under your stomach so that you're not sunk. There's just so many things. If you suffer from arthritis, there are mattresses that are pressure relieving. that can help reduce pain at night and things like that. The importance of your sleep environment can't be emphasized enough. So you want to create a very dark and cool, relaxing environment. I personally use blackout curtains. Eye masks are also a good option. I have to sleep with the night light on because I have a 15-year-old Chihuahua. And so it scares me that maybe she'll want to get up in the middle of the night and drink water and she won't see. And so in order to block that light for me when I sleep, I use an eye mask. It's a very, very important that even though they recommend, a lot of experts recommend like the bedroom temperature to be 69 degrees, 71 degrees. That's pretty cold for me. So make sure you find something that's comfortable. Like, the recommended is not always the ideal for everyone. So really like experiment and try things and just be aware of how you sleep now, what kind of works, what kind of doesn't, and just really optimize as needed so that when you are sleeping or when you are getting to bed, you are rested, you are relaxed, and the sleep that you get is meaningful and restorative. Something that's pretty important too is consistency. You want to go to sleep and wake up at the same time every day, even on weekends, because like I said, we operate on a 24-hour internal biological clock. And so what happens when you're waking up at 7 in the morning, Monday through Friday, and then you sleep in until like noon on a Saturday, your body kind of like that internal clock is disrupted, that rhythm is like messed up. And so you kind of experience jet lag symptoms while your body readjusts to that timeline. So managing your stress is extremely vital for getting quality sleep. So some of the things you can do, sometimes we'll check our phones before bed, check our email, think of the million things we have to do. So it kind of releases, cortisol and adrenaline. These are the stress hormones that keep us alert. And so I've heard of a few experts say that they dedicate a 1 hour worry time prior to their bedtime, the beginning of their bedtime routine. If that's a long time, I really recommend like making a to-do list for the next day or taking 30 minutes before you start, like settling down for the evening to, write down what you have to do the next day, check your email, check your meetings, check your schedule, and then really put that away so that when you are going to start getting to bed, it's just you and your bedtime routine. A lot of people find it very beneficial to have a bedtime ritual. So that could mean anything from doing some light stretches before bed, which relax the muscles and definitely do get you in that more serene kind of mood. Some people like to read. I've taken on reading recently. That really definitely makes me sleepy, makes me drowsy, and definitely just no blue light, like how I said that. Some people like to take a bath. An hour and a half to 2 hours before bed is a recommended amount of time to, help sleep onset. Anything that you find relaxing. Some people like coloring books. Some people like journaling, a gratitude journal. Anything like this that you might find will help you, disconnect and relax. Could be very helpful.
You mentioned reading. You mentioned a lot of really good tips, which I really appreciate because the bedtime is definitely important, the routine, the hygiene. And it is true when people hear hygiene, they think, do I need to wash my face? Do I need to wash my sheets? Cleanliness. But it's just basically, like you said, routines, like brush your teeth, wash your face, get into your pajamas, send signals to your brain that it's bedtime and it's time for you to go to bed.
Exactly. Anything like that. Part of my sleep hygiene is having a glass of water next to my bed. So it's the first thing I drink in the morning because my brain is made up of 70% water or something like that. So it's dehydrated after 7 or 8 hours of sleep. So anything like that.
Yeah, that makes a difference. But a lot of people are nowadays, I love to read before bed, but I like a physical book. I want to hold the book and there's no blue light associated with it. But a lot of people are using their phone and their Kindle and their tablets to read. So what have you found when it comes to using those things to read before bed when we're not supposed to be using blue light?
Yeah, well, like I said, it definitely kind of it pushes back the production of melatonin. So it definitely will delay your sleep. And what happens with that is you stay lying awake in bed for maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes, maybe an hour. And so If that happens, by the way, it's important to get out of bed and do not stay lying in bed for more than 20 minutes if you can't fall asleep, because then you'll start creating a negative association with your bed, and like you'll start creating this anxiety about not being able to fall asleep. And so it takes you down this rabbit hole. So if you can't fall asleep, they recommend to get out of bed, go to a different room. If you absolutely have to read from a tablet or phone, they have some blue light blocking glasses that have shown to kind of work. I think research shows that it's kind of promising. What I personally do on my phone and on my computer all day long, it's not even before bed, I always have night shift on, just to make the intensity of the screen less intense and make it like a dimmer, less blue light.
Yeah, that makes a difference. And then I know feng shui wise, having a TV in your bedroom is bad feng shui. It's bad for if you're a couple, it's bad for the relationship. So, what has your research found as far as having a TV or even an Alexa or whatever those devices are in your bedroom that's controlling everything and just having a lot of electronics? Have you found anything about that?
Well, not super specifically, but they are a distraction. And it's recommended, obviously, that your bedroom be distraction free. And I mean, I feel like a lot of times watching TV before bed, aside from the blue light, it's you have to be very careful with what you watch. If the last thing you watch is a very, very intense news story, you know, your brain starts getting stressed out. And so it kind of brings you back to alertness. And so I don't know if people might argue over what to watch. So something that's also recommended is avoiding difficult conversations before bedtime. So if these distractions might cause any sort of argument, I think, you know, the ideal, and I think it might be possible, is to just keep them outside of the bedroom. You know, it's just everything I've read is that's what's recommended. Keep distractions outside of the bedroom, reserve the bedroom for mainly sleep.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing, and to write your difficult journaling and to-do lists in the living room before going into the bedroom, right? One thing that came up for me when you were talking is you were saying keep a bottle of water by your bed because you are hydrated. But also, are there any supplements that come up for you that, or in the research that actually help, natural supplements, not sleeping aids, that you would recommend or that you've come across that might be helpful for somebody that's having a difficult time falling asleep?
Yeah, I guess CBD would be a natural remedy, right? If
Yes.
that one's not, yeah. So I've definitely, I've personally tried CBD. I tried it at the beginning of all of this crazy COVIDness, and I did find that it did help me kind of like relax and center. And it seems very, very trendy. I mean, it's out there for everything. They for seniors, it's big in the senior market from what I've read. Not only does it help control anxiety levels, but because it reduces anxiety, it improves sleep. There's a ton of teas too out there. I like the yogi tea, the stress reducing tea. Chamomile tea is very, very good too. I haven't actually tried that one, but a lot of the things that I read kind of have like all these natural kind of herbs and stuff. Something that can also be good is aromatherapy. It's not even a supplement. So that's kind of like, you know, the natural sense of relaxing and soothing. It kind of just centers you. I use a diffuser in my room, and I like eucalyptus scent. I just find it so soothing. And lavender is also very soothing.
Yes, essential oils are definitely useful when it comes to sleep, but I also recommend to my patients to take magnesium, not only for the restless leg syndrome that we have when we're falling asleep, but it also calms our muscles. And you
Mhm.
mentioned taking a bath, taking an Epsom salt bath, not only detoxifies us, but infuses magnesium back in our body. So magnesium is something I would definitely recommend if people are having trouble.
I have heard that. I read in my course, it came up in my course, in my certification course. One of the experts talking said that he takes M&Ms, which are magnesium and melatonin. That's his little remedy for sleep.
I'm really cautious about melatonin because, like you were mentioning, our brain naturally produces melatonin. And if we're taking melatonin, our brain chemicals are very, very delicate. And so when we're taking a supplement, it's not going to produce the supplement. And so, or not the supplement, but the hormone. And so we need to make sure that we're allowing our body and our brain to create these naturally instead of taking a supplementation whenever possible. And melatonin is one of those. So you mentioned avoid blue light because that'll encourage the production of melatonin, reduce your exposure. I'm thinking to even a lot of electronics because even the light bulbs that we're using is also disrupting our sleep. So some of my patients are sleeping with the TV on all night, and that is making a huge difference as far as their production of melatonin because the peak melatonin puts you in that deep state of sleep where we're resting, we're repairing, where our brain literally washes itself. And if we're not allowing it to get to that level, we're not getting the rest we need.
And the same goes for caffeine. You don't want to overdo the caffeine because then your body won't keep you alert on its own naturally. It kind of gets lazy and it's like, they're doing it for me. I'm not going to, maintain, keep you up and stuff. So that's also super important to avoid caffeine about 4 hours before bedtime. So it leaves your system metabolizes and, our melatonin can start doing its thing.
Mm-hmm. And for me, it takes more than, it's like 12 hours before I go to bed. I have to avoid caffeine because it will definitely disrupt my sleep.
Yeah, it's different for everyone.
And caffeine releases our stress hormones, cortisol, and cortisol. If we're high in cortisol before bed, we're not going to sleep, right? It's going to keep us awake because that's the cortisol, that's the hormone that's released before we wake up because it gives us that burst of energy. And so there's a lot involved in sleep. So I'm glad that you're really focusing on this and studying it. So you were mentioning some changes that you've made. What was your life like before you learned all this stuff? And what are the changes you've made since?
Yeah. So it's so funny that I ended up working in this role because in college and in high school, I was always known as loving sleep. I loved sleep. And I didn't realize I had such terrible sleep hygiene back then, but I would sleep in. I would sleep in until 12 p.m., 1 p.m. My bedtime was crazy. In college, it got pretty hectic, the all-nighters, terrible, terrible, terrible. Lost sleep is lost sleep. There's no way you can really undo the damage that goes while you push your body to those limits. So no consistency in sleep wake times. Drinking before bed was, I'm going to have a glass of wine after work and decompress right before bed. Yes, it makes you drowsier, but it kind of makes your sleep less restful because as it goes away at night, it just, it's just, although it might help you fall asleep, it doesn't help you get a quality rest through the night. Always my phone before bed, social media, Twitter, Facebook, the news, my email, my work email, my meetings. I felt like I was all over the place. I didn't feel centered. So now I definitely try to avoid blue light before bed. I shower. I take a hot shower before bed. That's kind of like my nighttime ritual, reading and a hot shower. And it was recently during this quarantine that I actually put that to practice. And it's kind of impressive how it really does work. And it's like, as soon as I started taking that shower, my body kind of knew that it was going to be lights out. And I did start getting drowsier naturally. I left all of those. I used to take a lot of melatonin in college, and I left all of that behind because my body started kind of functioning on its own. It's incredible what the human body is capable of if you just give it some love. And so I read before bed now. I try to wake up early on weekends. Even I think the recommended is if you do want to sleep in, don't sleep in more than an hour. So I don't sleep in more than an hour. I will be honest, I don't have the perfect sleep hygiene. I think it's always a work in progress and you can always improve. But I definitely try, like I said, I didn't use my aromatherapy diffuser before, but I use it now. And it creates just a very serene environment. And I think the biggest change is that I prioritize my sleep now, where before it was something I'd put off. And I need to finish this deadline. Like I'll push, I'll go to sleep at 2 a.m. Like that's not a thing anymore for me because I know that I could have such detrimental health effects over time to not get, the recommended amount, which is about 7 to 8 hours, for the average adult, definitely varies. Some people need less, some people can function with want more, but I think that is the biggest change. It's prioritizing my sleep.
That I am so religious about my sleep. The more I learn about sleep, I'm like you. The more I learn about it, the more I'm like, why are we not rushing to bed every night? Why are we delaying it and pushing it off as much as possible? I tell all of my patients. So I tell them to be in bed between 10 and 2 if possible, because that's when our melatonin level is at its peak. And then we get that deep level of sleep. But I know with COVID, everybody's schedules are completely thrown off. You said sometimes you used to push yourself until 2. And I know a lot of people don't go to bed until 3 or 4 because they think it's the number of hours that they're asleep instead of when they're asleep. So what have you found about that?
So, I feel like I've heard different experts say different things. I've heard that the most restorative sleep happens between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. But then I've heard someone disagree with that and say, one of the experts actually that we just created our sleep plan with, she was like, I don't necessarily think you should have such a rigid timeline, because if you are getting like restorative sleep, the timeline might not matter that much. So take night shift workers, for example, nurses, police officers. It's so they can't sleep at night the hours that we sleep. If they're on duty, if they're on call. So I've heard that for some of these like employees, what they'll do is their sleep doctors or psychologists, whoever they're working with, they'll try to mimic daytime and nighttime in their homes. They'll grab lamps that will when it's time for them to wake up, say that's 2 a.m. So they sleep from 12 noon to 11 p.m. and then they have to wake up at midnight or 1 a.m. to go to work. And so they'll use these lamps that kind of start rising, start emitting light as if the sun, kind of imitating sunlight. And so during the day when they're asleep, they'll use blackout curtains and they'll turn all the light off. And some people use earplugs, and so if you are getting quality sleep, what I've heard is that the timeline might not necessarily be that important if you're able to shift that circadian rhythm and completely flip it for your work, if that's your livelihood. I think it is possible to shift it, but it requires a lot of dedication and I think discipline, and importance, and give it a lot of importance to, mimic these natural environments.
I know, but that's the problem. A lot of people aren't doing that. And shift workers, actually, the whole shift working is considered a carcinogen because a lot of people will get cancer and have a lot of health issues because they're not getting that sleep and they're not recreating their circadian rhythm the way that they're supposed to. So it does take a lot of work. I would highly recommend, if it's possible, to change that and avoid shift work if possible and work during the day. Because like you said, lost sleep is lost sleep. And if you're not getting that deep restorative sleep because your body's not going into that stage 4 sleep, then it's going to cause problems, because that's when we are repairing our body and our brain, and we need to take advantage of that. I encourage everybody to learn more about sleep because it is so important and it's so amazing the things that happen. I'm keeping track of my sleep. Are you keeping track of yours?
No. Do you mean you have a watch or a device or something that tracks it? No, I have not tried. I have not invested in one of those.
And that
How do
will
you like
shed
it?
a lot. Oh, I love it. It sheds a lot of light into how I sleep. And some of the days that I'm thinking, wow, I didn't get much sleep, I knocked out, didn't even wake up. And other times when I was like, wow, that just went by really fast, it's like, no, I got a lot of good deep sleep. But it's just, you're not really, without a device, it's very difficult to be subjective or to be objective about your quality of sleep. As long as I'm getting enough deep sleep, I'm good. And I know that our REM sleep and our dreaming time is also important. So the more I learn about my sleep, the more invested I am in making it a priority.
Yeah, because it's so important to every system in the body, the immune system, wounds heal, your digestive system, everything. Everything is impacted by sleep. And it baffles me that sleep medicine only became important or a recognized field in the 70s, the 80s. It's like that's when it just really took off. And I think that they should teach children in school, like, and like, the importance of sleep hygiene for children. It's like such a thing, and it's so important for them to do it on their own and learn it as a habit when they're children, just like brushing your teeth.
I emphasize that a lot in my sessions with families and children. It makes such a difference. They come in, they're a mess, they're anxious, they're not eating, they're having tantrums. They fix their sleep cycle and they're much more compliant. They're doing better in school. They have a better mood and overall better outlook. And teens, oh my gosh, there's a huge mental health crisis within the teen population because they're connected 24/7 with their
Yeah.
phones and they're not getting the sleep that they need. They're up all night. It is going to create long-term issues for these teenagers because once you have mental illness and you're not taking care of it, you're not working towards it, it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So that's my biggest concern, is really getting our teens to get disconnected and to actually get some deep sleep.
Absolutely. It's just essential to the development, to any development, and it's just, can't emphasize this enough. We need to prioritize sleep just as a human race. You know what I mean? It's like, it's without sleep, there's no life. I think it takes something like without 2 weeks of sleep, it's deadly to any like human or animal.
Oh, we'll die of sleep deprivation before we'll die of food deprivation. It is really, really important.
People really do need to make it a point to just sleep. And it sounds easy, but it's not that easy, as we've just kind of illustrated.
Well, we are so distracted. I mean, one thing I was going to mention earlier is when you were talking about just sleep hygiene and your room temperature and making sure it's dark and it's cold or cool. It's also important to turn off all electronics if we can. Like I've even gone to the next step of turning off Wi-Fi because that's going throughout the entire house and everybody is affected. All of those electromagnetic energies are affecting us. So, but also it's the temptation's not there. If the Wi-Fi is off, then oops, I can't work. I got to go to sleep, right? Right. So all you do is get a little cheap $10 timer and connect it to your Wi-Fi, and then you can program it so that it goes off, and then it's not affecting anybody in the house. It's completely off, and it comes back on around like 5 or 6 o'clock or whenever you start working. But like I said, it reduces that temptation.
That's such a good tip. I hadn't heard that one. That is kind of out of the ordinary.
Some people might even think it's extreme, but I really feel like it makes a difference because then you're not tempted to be like, oh, well, I'm up, so might as well go and surf the web. It's like, nope, got to still go back to sleep.
Yeah, like we said, all distractions outside of the bedroom if possible when it's rest time.
Yeah, we just need to make sure we're giving ourselves that opportunity to create an environment where we can sleep and just detach, because sleep requires us to let go of control, right? So if you can even do some guided meditations for 10, 15 minutes, whether before or even during the day, just to learn how to let go of control and go into that deep state of relaxation, then it's going to be a lot easier to let go and go to sleep, because otherwise that anxiety, like you said, that the stressors of the day are going to keep us wound up and we're not going to be able to wake up, to go to sleep. I also teach my patients how to tap and how to relax their body, how to do deep breathing exercises, using essential oils. There are yoga stretches, there's qigong moves. There's so many things you can do to kind
Tai
of
Chi.
to help you get into that deep state of sleep.
Yeah, that those are all like we talked about having a bedtime ritual, like doing every night to disconnect. Those are all the examples that I've ever seen. Like stretches, yoga, meditating, just anything that will help you just get into that state of peace, inner peace. It's we're hyper aroused these days with everything that's going on, and so just really, really getting into getting out of that fight or flight mode and into this rest and digest, it's just will be key.
Yes. No, those are very good points. And if we can just make it a priority, like you said, don't look at it as an afterthought, like, oh, I got to go to sleep. No, I get to go to sleep. It's time to go to sleep.
Yes, get excited. It's important. It is like without sleep, there's no life. You know what I mean? And so be thankful for the sleep that you can get and make it as restorative. Like give yourself that love, that like your body gets you through so much every day. You can work, family, everything, fun things, bad things, it's there for you. So you should, give that back to it. It's time for you to rest. Here's that.
Well, we give our phone that rest. We charge it up and we make sure that it gets its battery full. We and I always use that example from the movie Big Hero 6. I think that was the name of it. With that little big I don't know what it was, that little robot. And so he backs himself into a little corner and then just kind of shuts down and he recharges his battery. We need to do the same thing. We do it for our phones and electronics. We need to recharge our own batteries.
Yeah, we are more important than that phone.
Exactly. And we will get depleted like that phone if we don't end up taking care of ourselves. And so you're right. Our body is amazing and it will do so much to heal us and take care of us if we just give it what it needs.
Exactly. It's all about really self-love, self-care, and just put yourself first above all, duties, stresses. Put yourself before that deadline. Put yourself before that, crisis, before that TV show, for God's sake. Just, it's your health.
Before that TV show, amen. Like just all those Netflix series that people are binging all night long. Get off the phone, get off the TV, just go to sleep, watch it tomorrow.
So addictive, so addictive. You have to really, really have self-control, draw the line. I speak from experience.
Me too. There's some shows that they kind of cut it off in a way that you can't help but watch the next one, right? So you have to somehow set a limit.
And it starts again by itself. You don't even have to click next anymore. It's like they design it to hook you. No, beat the algorithm.
Right. Well, their goal is for us to be on their apps and on their platforms as long as possible, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or Netflix. Our job is to be more mindful and do what's best for us instead of what's best for them and their algorithm.
100%, 100%. Like, what is it? Facebook, Instagram, all of these things. I've heard if the product is free, you're the product.
Yes. And we don't realize that. We do not realize how we're being used and manipulated constantly. And it's affecting our health. It's affecting our lives. It's affecting our sleep. The same with video games. People cannot let go. And so we need to just set those limits and make it a priority.
Especially parents for their kids who they just know no limits, no boundaries. It's like, if we can't set them for ourselves with Netflix, how are we going to set the example for kids who are just, hooked on their video game, which I don't blame them. I don't play them, but they look really fun. And it's just really important to just set those like boundaries with technology.
But I think if all of us are left to our own devices, we might not necessarily make those choices. But if we can have, like I said, put a limit on that Wi-Fi so that you're not tempted to get on in the middle of the night and play those video games or watch those shows, then that helps you because you're creating an external source of control that kind of is already set, it's automated, and you don't have to think about it. So you're not in your weakest moment thinking, I'm going to make it. We're never going to make the right decision in that time.
Yeah, no, I agree totally. And so, it is good to set these external factors that kind of it's like your future self taking care of your present self. You know what I mean?
Right. Wow, this was a really wonderful discussion. Thank you so much. And it was very enlightening. And I'm glad you're doing this research and educating the community and everybody that's going to Sleepopolis and learning more from you guys. So where can people find you? I mean, we're talking about social media and all it's dangerous, but I'm sure you're on it. And if you want people to check in with you or contact you or follow you, how can people contact you and know more about you?
Definitely. So you can for sure find me on our Sleepopolis website, and that's just www.sleepopolis.com, and you'll find me in the About Us page. You can also find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram. It's at VanGab17. I'm the same all across. And I use LinkedIn more than anything these days, so feel free to reach out there.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for making the time and having this conversation. And I hope that your work gets read by a lot of people because we do need to know more about sleep, and we need to, like I said, prioritize sleep because, like you said, without it, we're not going to exist.
This was so fun. Thank you so much. I really hope people take just one sleep hygiene tip. So one thing you can improve. Try it tonight. Stick to it. And like I said, experiment. Just find what works for you. It's fun. It really is.
And you'll notice you feel better, you have more energy, you're thinking better, and it's just a wonderful thing to
Absolutely.
focus on.
Absolutely.
Well,
100%.
thank you so much, Vanessa.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sekandari. It was so good to talk to you.